Hi, I'm Jim Stillpepper. I'm a counselor at Allwell Behavioral Health. I want to spend just a few moments getting you to think about how the social media that we consume, the social media our kids consume, can affect us in our mental health and our overall mental well-being. To be sure, social media in and of itself is not necessarily bad, but paying attention to the effects that it has on us is. We know that the longer we as adults and the longer our kids stay exposed to social media, regardless of the platform, the more likely they are, the more likely we are to report symptoms associated with depression or anxiety. So probably the best word to think about in terms of our exposure to media and the exposure of our children is the word balance. There are certainly some great things to be found with social media. In fact, right now, you're watching this video probably through a social media platform. And I love that our local library system is able to be so proactive and use social media that way. We also know it's not just the necessarily bad or evil websites that can be so detrimental. It's just being constantly exposed seems to have an effect that can drain us. And again, lead to symptoms that may look like depression, lead to symptoms that may look like anxiety. And so I want to give you a way to actually think through, and particularly if you're going to talk to some young people about their time online, words sometimes don't quite get the message across. And that's where you want to get a 2-liter bottle. And inside, I have just a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And I know it's hard to see. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to hook this up to a handy dandy pump that happens to be next to me. And I'm going to blow it up, put just a couple blows in there, get some pressure in there. And then when I'm talking to kids about their exposure and how being on social media can affect them, we talk about the more we put into social media, the more pressure there can be. And sometimes it's hard to see what that pressure is doing to us, but watch closely. That pressure just created a lot of fog inside this. And I love that visual. Because again, at the beginning, it didn't look like there was that many problems because of the pressure that was in there. But that is the point that we need to talk about, is that too much exposure, too much negative exposure to media can have a detrimental effect to the human brain and the human heart. And so it's time to really take an assessment of how much time we are spending, how much time our kids are spending, and create a dialogue to determine what is an appropriate amount of time and where does the balance word come into this. Because to be quite honest, some time does need to be devoted to online, particularly if we're looking at what's happening in our schools right now because of COVID. But we also need to talk about the balance. And if you're going to make a rule about limiting the time that kids have on social media, my recommendation is strongly not just the rule, but what are some neat alternatives? Let's create popcorn night, where we do popcorn and play some popcorn games, like try to throw it in a can and just eat it together as a family. Let's have some game nights. Let's dust off some of those old games that our kids used to play so that we can have an alternative, not just a rule around social media. So I hope you've seen some things to think about, some things to discuss as a family. And if you need more information or have questions, you can reach out to us at Allwell Behavioral Health Services, or you can reach out to the local Mental Health Recovery Services Board, because both places have awesome resources should you need more information. If you've been given a light, please rise and shine while there is still light. Thank you.